Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hello everyone. In my latest column for ThePrint, I write about the changing perception about the Taliban on Chinese social media. In this column, I look at how the perception on Chinese social media about Taliban has changed since the attack outside Kabul airport. In this column, I also argue that there are fissures within the Chinese social media community on how Taliban should be viewed, and Taliban's own actions has contributed towards a divided opinion on Chinese social media. Despite Taliban's very brutal and repressive actions, some on social media have tried to defend Taliban's decision to segregate men and women in schools. Some social media users have said that this context is applicable to Afghanistan, where there is certain understanding within the religious communities that the men and women should not be in the same space in schools. And on the other hand, some have argued that this sort of segregation is not acceptable. An Afghan national named Jalal Baswan, who blogs in Chinese on Weibo, was recently attacked by the more nationalist users for his blogs about the Taliban, where he explained to the Chinese people that Taliban is a repressive regime, and that's what they did 20 years ago, and they are likely to continue that trend. And the Chinese social media users were not happy about this narrative, and they did attack Baswan on social media. And he gave an interview to Bloomberg where he talks about this attack, and he's not at all concerned by these attacks, and he would continue to blog about Taliban on Weibo and explain to Chinese people that Taliban are not exactly a peace-loving group that would likely continue their past actions in the present. Most recently, a page was set up on Baidu, which is the Chinese equivalent to Wikipedia. This page is about Afghan Taliban. There was no such page before the recent crisis began. There was a page about Taliban, and that page exists. But this separate entry on Baidu suggests that the Chinese state media and the Chinese government is trying to explain to its own people what the Afghan Taliban is, and that process continues as we speak. Global People's Magazine, which is a magazine owned by People's Daily, published a cover story and a magazine edition in which the Taliban leader Habibullah Akhundzada was on the cover page of that magazine. So the Chinese state media continues to explain to its own people what the Taliban is there to do and how China hopes to support the Taliban. The dominant narrative we have seen in recent days that the Chinese state media continues to promote is that China wants to do business with Afghanistan and potentially rebuild Afghanistan after the chaotic years of the US-led presence in Afghanistan. The Chinese Communist Party and the Foreign Ministry stand firmly behind Taliban. There was a commentator on Phoenix Television who suggested that the current threat of ISKP is something the Taliban can fight, and the West should not interfere in this new era where Taliban is firmly in charge of the government in Afghanistan. And that sort of narrative is quite popular among some commentators, especially on Chinese television and the other social media platforms, where the experts are talking about giving Taliban an opportunity to stabilize Afghanistan after 20 years of US-led presence.